So you're interested in doing minimal urban sketches just like you see on this channel and on Instagram, and it always seems a little bit difficult, but it's actually simpler than it looks. But as you know, simple does not necessarily mean easy. In this video, I'm going back to the basics. I remember when I was first starting out, I would log onto YouTube hoping to find some nice beginner tutorials, and it usually starts off that way. Most YouTubers start off by showing some nice, simple exercises that any beginner can do. But then they immediately jump into these very, very complex scenes, and I'm just there like, what happened? So like I said, we're going back to the basics, and I'm gonna show you this simple exercise that I do every single day that allows me to sketch minimally very quickly. If you're new here, I'm Karan, and I help rigid rookies turn into loose liners. Essentially, I help the beginners turn into pros. Everything that can be found in nature or is human-made can be broken down into 3 simple shapes, or a combination of these 3 simple shapes. That's the circle, the square, and the triangle. For this exercise, we'll use those 3 shapes along with hatching to understand line, depth, and shadow. If you forget what hatching is, it's essentially just drawing a bunch of lines very close to each other. Let's take a look. There's vertical hatching. There's horizontal hatching. Diagonal hatching. And there are many more different types of hatching, but these are the 3 we'll cover today. So for exercise 1, let's start with circle. Before drawing my circle, I'll draw the frame that it'll sit in. So I'll draw 3 frames, and I'll draw my first circle. In this frame, I'll draw 2 circles, one larger than the other. And in the third frame, I'll draw 3 circles, with the third one being the smallest. You probably noticed that I'm drawing with a pencil, and that's because I'll be erasing these lines after I ink them. For the first exercise, we'll just be doing horizontal hatching and avoiding the circles. What does that mean? Let's take a look. Exactly as it sounds. I will horizontally hatch, and then when I get to the circle, I'll just hop over it. For the second one, I'll do hatching that's slightly closer to each other. I want you to observe what the slightly closer hatching does. The closer hatching looks denser than the previous version. And for the third and final box, I'll just do a regular hatch again. So that's the first exercise done. We've just essentially drawn circles, and then we hatched around the circles. I'll go ahead now and erase my pencil work. Usually I'd wait about 10-15 minutes after the sketch to erase the pencil, but since this is a demonstration, I'll just go right in. So what you've just done is use hatching and circles to create negative space. Now this technique is typically used for clouds in the sky. That's why I use 3 circles of different sizes, so you can kind of get the idea of where I'm going. The second exercise, we're going to move on to square. And in this section, we're going to learn 3D space. So with my pencil, once again, I will draw squares. This time I'll draw 4 squares. And I'll make them 3D into different directions. This one's going to the left, this one's going to the right, and this one will go down. And then for the last one, we'll do right again. So in this stage, we're going to build upon the negative space lesson that we just learned to show shapes in 3D space. So I'll do a diagonal hatching that follows the same angle as the 3D shape. Start left and go to the right. Go to the bottom, same thing. And I'm stopping at the borders of the pencil marks. And then I'm just going to loosely draw the outer borders of the square. That's the first one done. I'll do something very similar for the second one, but I'll be going the opposite direction. So since I like to work left to right, I will start with the outline. And then now I'll draw my hatching using the same diagonal as the shape. And I'm using my pencil marks as guides. Now go up, but keeping the same diagonal. For the third one, we have the square going back into space. So I'll start with my outline. This time I will do my full square. And then I'll be using horizontal hatching to fill in the space at the bottom. And now the last one you'll see is very similar to the second one, but I'll show you a different hatching technique here. So just like before, I will draw the outer boundaries. But instead of going diagonal like I did with this one, for the bottom, I will be going horizontal, and for the top, I'll be going vertical. Starting with horizontal. And now vertical. So now we know how to draw 3D shape using hatching. But remember, I also said we'll be building upon what we just learned about negative space. Like I said before, I usually like to wait a little bit and give the ink a little bit time to dry, so then you don't get these types of smudges. So since I erased the lines, you can see the hatching creates those outlines. Right here, here, and then here and here. So hatching in this way allows you to really draw a shape without drawing out every single detail. And now the final shape we're going to be working on is a triangle. And we're going to use triangle to learn a little bit about shadows. So once again, I'm going to draw 4 shapes. So 4 triangles. And now I'm going to draw the shadows of the triangle. So let's pretend the light source is over here. So if the light is over here and is shining this way, then the shadow of the triangle will probably be around here. So I'll draw the top point of the triangle, and then we'll just connect the sides. For this one, we'll do the opposite direction. So the light's over here, so that the shadow of the triangle will be going this direction. This one will go straight down. So the light is here, shining behind the triangle, pushing the shadow forward. And then for this last one, we'll do quite a severe shadow. So light's coming from this way, let's connect it there. So we're going to take an approach very similarly to what we did with square. We're going to do a few different types of hatching. We're going to do vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and then I'll show you one extra one. So we'll start with horizontal. So once again, I'm just using the pencil marks as guides so I know where my line begins and where it ends. But I'm not tracing these lines. I'll do the outlines of the triangle. For this one, I'll do the outlines of the triangle. But I'll be doing vertical hatching. For the third triangle, I'll be doing a diagonal hatch. So remember, as you're practicing these hatching lines, always play with the distance between the lines. It'll make your sketch either denser or looser. And then finally, for this hatching, I'll have all of the lines come to the same convergence point. And the convergence point will be right here. So here's where all the lines will meet. I'll start with the base of my triangle and they all meet to the same point. Let me erase those lines and we'll take a look. So with the triangles, we essentially built on everything that we've learned before. We're using the negative space that we learned so we can see the edge of the triangle. We're using the hatching techniques that we learned from showing 3D space and applying that to show shadows. Now you're probably yelling at the YouTube screen, what do I do with this? Let's take a look. So I'm just gonna draw a sample scene. This is gonna be quick, it's gonna be loose. It'll just give you an idea how you can adapt these 3 techniques to really make any scene minimal. So I'm going to do a pyramid here. And I'm going to have the shadow go out that far. This is the horizon. And I'm going to have some clouds. And now I'm going to start off with the sky. And remember what I did before? I'll use horizontal hatching to draw the sky. And then when I get to the clouds, I'll just skip over them. I'll also be skipping over the pyramid as I get close to it. And then I'll stop around the horizon line. For the pyramid, I'll start with this side of it here, the left side, and I'll use the angle I established here to diagonally hatch all the way up. And then for the shadows, I'll just horizontally hatch it all the way. If we take a look at the scene, it's not hard to see how it all came together. We use hatching to show the negative space, not only in the clouds, but also this side of the pyramid. We also use diagonal hatching to show the pyramid going back in space. And we use horizontal hatching to show the shadow of the pyramid. That's pretty cool for just only using lines, isn't it? Now, before you say, how does this help me draw better scenes? Let's take a look at the sketches from the beginning. Each scene is just a combination of circle, square, and triangle. Now click on this playlist here so you can take the skills that you just learned to the next level.